And now it's time for shadows. At first I create a shadow on the church. Press Ctrl and click on this layer. Then click this small icon at the bottom and go to Hue Saturation. Saturation at -100 and lightness also at -100. Then click Selection tool, click right and free transform and adjust your shadows. Is the easiest method to create a shadow. And by clicking at the corners you can adjust it, distort it, whatever you want to create perfect shadow. It can take a while. As you see, when I drag this shadow under my church layer, it doesn't look good, so I drag it under my church layer. And then using eraser tool I remove unnecessary part of the shadow. And then go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and I make it little blurry. However, I decided to change blend mode to normal and then change opacity about 60%. I think it looks better right now. Well, I think we get this. It looks pretty okay, so now it's time for shadow for this person on the bicycle. And now it's time to edit our person on the bicycle. At first I change saturation a little on this layer. So press Ctrl, click on this layer and desaturate it a little. Then the same, and I add photo filter, warming photo filter. It looks more natural for this image then. And also I create a shadow, press Ctrl, again go to Hue Saturation, and again press Ctrl, click on this layer, go to Hue Saturation and do the same as before with the church. Saturation -100, lightness -100 also, and free transform, and adjust your shadow. And again go to Filter, Blur and Gaussian Blur to make it blurry. And also change opacity, but only to about 85%. And then I increase my shadow using regular brush tool, because this shadow isn't perfect yet. So create new layer, click brush tool, and using black color, colorize it just like me. Then change opacity a little and make it blurry. And I think it looks better right now. And now I wanna increase my shadows on this person. So create new layer, click regular brush tool, select color black. On this layer, change blend mode to soft light, opacity about 60%, and colorize my shadow. On the wheels, mostly on the wheels and shoes. I think it helps. And now I think it's a good time to use Dodge and Burn tool. So create new layer, go to Edit, Fill, and set contents at use 50% gray. Then change blend mode to overlay. Click Dodge and Burn tool, and at first I use Burn tool to increase the shadow on this layer with person. On the wheels, shoes, and clothes, I set exposure at 100% because it need to be pretty strong. And then on the same layer, change your tool to Dodge tool to create the lights and contrast. It's a mandatory tool in manipulation. You need to use this. I add some lights on my wheel, on the steering wheel. And then I also use Dutch and Burn tool on the church to lighten the roof and create the contrasts. And of course the same with the street. As you see, it works perfect and the difference is huge, and now it looks completely better for me. Also some burn tool, as I said, for contrast. And now, of course, time for another stock. Only 3 stock yet, and now this chess image stock. And of course, the same as before, pen tool and make selection. And then using move tool, drag it to your main project. Of course, change the size and adjust this image using free transform. If you want, you can distort this image or whatever you want. Everything using free transform and tools like this. Press Ctrl, click on this layer, go to Hue Saturation, saturation at -100, the same with lightness, and create the shadows by clicking Free Transform on this layer and adjust it. On this layer I change opacity to 85% and then make it blurry to make it more real. And now I add Raven image. I skip this step because it's everything the same. We are making selection using pen tool, then move it to our main project. I put the Raven on the chest and create the shadow using exactly the same method as before. Of course, I changed the size using free transform. Then press Ctrl, select this image and create the shadow. And my last stock image is car image. Also, I skipped this step because we are doing the same with almost every image, so it's no sense to repeat everything again. Just adjust the car and then create the shadow on this. Some people tell me that the car shouldn't be here. Maybe it wasn't a good idea. I don't know, you can leave the comment about it. Of course, create the shadow and then make the shadow a little blurry and change the opacity about 90%. So slowly we are approaching to the end of this manipulation, and what I'm doing at the end, I delayed my lightning effects from the beginning and do it again. So I duplicate my sky, road and desert layers. I'm doing that by press Ctrl and clicking on this layer. Then when I duplicate this layer, I select these layers again and then click right and click merge layers. Then I make this image smaller. As I said at the beginning, it's easier to edit lightning effects when the image is smaller. Then you should scale image as you like. You can set the light using these rings, whatever you like. So here's my properties. I set color intensity at 20, it's pretty okay. Hotspot, this small ring, set at 15, it's not so much. Colorize exposure at 20, and ambience, very important thing, at 20. It gives us this vignette effect, so it looks nice right now. And as you see right now, this image looks completely different right now. It's more dramatic, it looks so much better for me right now. I hope also for you. And last thing you should do with your manipulation is color collection, adding filters and other stuff. You should always do this on the top. These photo filters should be your top layer. At first I playing with color balance. In midtones I add some cyan, but you shouldn't look at me, because it's a very subjective decision of what filter you use, so as I said, you shouldn't look at me. I also add some yellow in midtones. Now in shadows I also add some cyan, -10. And in highlights I add some yellow color. As you see, this image looks a little better right now. Then I go to photo filter and add this pretty warm yellow-green color. And I set density at 35%. My last step is curves. In RGB I at first drag it a little down, and at the top I drag it a little up to add some contrast and drama to my image. In blue I drag it down to add some yellow color. I think the yellow color were perfect with this manipulation. And I'm doing something like this in red. So now I think this manipulation looks really nice. It's the final result. Thank you for being with me. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and that you learned something. If you like this tutorial, feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, or if you want to share something with me. It can be a critical review. Soon probably I will be doing more manipulation like this, so hope you like it. If you are first time here, you can subscribe my channel, and see you in the next Photoshop tutorial. Thank you.